Well, it was a monster win for Michigan, 24-15 over Penn State. If you ask ESPN's S&P Plus model, it was the biggest win of the season across all of college football. If you ask rivals or people that just hate Michigan, Penn State's not very good, and Michigan still hasn't been tested. That sound you hear is the goalposts moving, as we all expected. But anyway, I am Trevor McCue, senior editor, Maize and Blue Review, here on Hail to the Podcast, joined as always by the Intel insider and publisher of Maize and Blue Review, Mr. Josh Henschke, who, if you're wondering if you're getting fired up, Josh, I think you're getting melatonin, Josh, tonight.
Melatonin.
It's been a lot.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, can you tell I have a small child? I try
Yeah.
to think of what does tired mean? Oh, melatonin.
Just a bunch of Benadryl tonight. Oh man, no, I don't have it this week. I don't have it this week either. I mean, I'll predict that going forward, but I don't know if I'll be able to recover from last week. But I'm just I'm just here. I'm just existing, man. I'm just existing.
Yeah, Josh and I had to pretend we were lawyers for a week. We will never do it again. No. We will obviously talk about Jim Harbaugh and the mess that is the Big Ten suspension. I'm sorry, punishment of the University of Michigan, not suspension of Jim Harbaugh, right? Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about that because obviously we do have some news that will affect the upcoming game potentially on Friday. But anyway, and then I'm just going to keep calling him our man in the sky. He has attended every game for us this year. Got to head out to Penn State. Brock, was it everything I said? The game day experience was great, and then the rest of the city sucks.
It was the experience was great. Yeah. The stadium itself and campus is kind of just in the middle of nowhere. You're just driving through the hills of Pennsylvania, and all of a sudden you look out and you see the stadium, and it's planted there in the middle of nowhere. And it's really weird. But I mean, beautiful drive out there in Pennsylvania, and great game day atmosphere. The Penn State fans were great. They were rocking. And yeah, it was everything that, people have talked about that atmosphere being. It was, I do honestly, probably the one game I wouldn't have minded being at night was that game.
It's kind of a bucket list deal. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But it was noon. They were rocking, and it was a good time.
They were rocking throughout the day. Mr. James Franklin caught some booze towards the end of it. If you haven't seen it, the footage of him leaving out the tunnel and then, going into the special area to the locker room, man, were those fans aggressive and upset with him. This is who he is, folks.
Yeah.
Like I understand Penn State fans and how they feel and what they want their program to be. Michigan was arguably there not that long ago, right? Where people are starting to wonder, is this Harbaugh ceiling? Will we ever get there, et cetera? That backdoor Big Ten championship in 2016 has really carried a long way, right? Every coaching search where his name gets dropped, he would get another extension. They fired their offensive coordinator today. That's the power of Jesse Minter. I guess we'll obviously get into the defense and their performance versus Penn State. But Josh, we obviously spent a lot of the year talking about this game because we knew that was going to be the first test for Michigan, and the non-conference was easy. And the Big Ten, outside of the best teams in the Big Ten, this is a really down year for the conference, right? Like it's pretty weak, just being honest. So we've been talking about this game for a while and our expectations, and they've kind of fluctuated. I mean, we always felt good about Michigan, but at least me, I know at the beginning of the year, I was like, look, I see what Penn State's building here. If this happens, I think they could be really good. And then last week when we talked about this game, I think one of the biggest points, I know I said it, I'm sure everyone else did, I just didn't think the offense was going to be able to get going. And we saw that. And it's just, I don't know, this was more of, yes, it felt competitive for a while, right? But this is just Penn State, whether it's Drew Aller or the new OC or some elite defensive pieces, like, just feels like this is who they are now. And now I regret even ever being hyped up and thinking they might be able to compete, kind of thing,
Right. Yeah, no, that's kind of the same thing. I don't know why I get concerned about Penn State every year, because it's always the same. It always ends the same every year. Michigan just embarrasses Penn State the third year in a row that they've done that. I laughed because I saw a tweet posted by Kenneth Grant after the game of Tom Cat smacking another cat, just spanking him. And it was a gif of that. And I was just like, that's just, if that would encapsulate the game, that would be it right there. It's just I know Count 22 mentions here it's a controlled butt whooping, but yeah, it's just a controlled spanking all day, both sides of the ball. I mean, I know people will say what they will about, the passing game and all that stuff, but Michigan came in and controlled this game. I mean, that's a top. Again, and people are going to argue whether Penn State should have been a top 10 team, but whatever.
They don't do that with anyone else,
right?
It's a top 10 win. They were top 10 at the time they played. I don't want to hear the hedging. You're giving Florida State credit for beating LSU, who has 6-3, 3 losses now. So that's a top 10 road win.
Yeah, no, you can't apologize. You can't apologize for who you play and what the schedule says and how teams are ranked. So, it's hilarious. Sharon Moore has the same amount of top 10 wins as James Franklin does.
I love that stat.
Which is hilarious. That is a hilarious stat. And
like Tom Brady has more NFC playoff wins than Aaron Rodgers.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Sharon Moore has more live F-bombs dropped than James Franklin too. He's got that.
I want to get into that too. So
yeah, that was hilarious. I love it. But yeah, I mean, again, it's the GOAT Stephen Ostentowski says right here, no cap. Goalposts will continue to move. Always. They always do. Yep. And James Franklin is a snake oil salesman, great recruiter, can't coach worth a lick. And again, firing your offensive coordinator the day after that disaster, it's typical Franklin because no one
sixth OC since 2014.
Right. No one ever, James Franklin can never do anything wrong. There's no accountability on his end. He's got to fire the next best option in firing his offensive coordinator. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, James Franklin is who he is. And
he is who we thought he was.
Yeah, exactly. And Michigan didn't let him off the hook. Not this week. So
he just can't not do those things that he does, man. The fourth down call with the throw to Aller, yeah, it worked, but just not necessary, right, man. And then, the trick play on that 2-point conversion with, his own media was calling him out for that, like going for the 2 earlier in the game. And again, they did something weird with that 2-point conversion too, but you're going to go swinging gate. Like, just run a play, dude. Just run a play. But anyway, real quick, Brock, before I get to you, Mr. Darbo here every week. Hello, sir. Thank you. And tell your brother we say hello back. My favorite catch of the Harbaugh era to this day. BYU. Just unbelievable. But anyway, Brock, and I forgot specifically where I was going to lead you, but I'm sure you have something to say. So why don't you just say whatever you want?
Yeah, well,
I'm tired too, Josh. This is going to be.
I'll bring the energy. I think that this
Young
game,
buck.
Someone's got to. We're old.
Yeah. Drinking a Diet Coke.
Whoa! Hold on a second. Whoa, yeah, Nick. Whoa!
What?
Bringing the juice.
Oh,
Nick. James Franklin pissed down his leg again, going for it on the 4th down, way back in their home territory, with over 4 minutes to go and 2 timeouts with an elite defense. James is a fraud forever. Go blue. Wow, you brought the juice there, way more than I could have. That is perfect and a perfect description of James Franklin. Absolutely wetting himself in multiple occasions with just dumb decisions. Nick, you're a truth sayer. You're a good man, and thank you very much for your donation.
I forgot about the 4th down too.
You're the best. Thank you so much. Totally unnecessary, but thank you. Appreciate you. Sorry, Brock.
Yes, we do. No, that's not a problem. That's worth an interruption. I was just going to say, I think this game for the most part went just about how most people thought it would go. Penn State couldn't do anything.
There'd be more than one pass in the second half, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That one exception. I don't think hardly anyone New Derek. Yeah. That $10 is going to buy me dinner in Maryland next week. Thanks, Nick. But yeah, I don't think anyone really expected 7 of 8 and 60 yards for JJ McCarthy. That's the one thing I will say. If you showed that to Michigan fans that were out tailgating around the stadium before the game and told them, here's McCarthy's stat line. What do you think is going to happen in this game? I think many people would say Michigan's going to lose by at least 2 scores. There's just because Penn State's run defense was so highly thought of going into that game. And if McCarthy threw for 60 yards, there would have been no way Michigan was going to win. But instead, Sharon Moore, 32 straight runs to end the game, which, there were a few victory formation kneel downs that were counted in there too. And Michigan had the one pass to AJ Barner that was nullified because of the pass interference. But statistically speaking, 32 consecutive runs to end the game. McCarthy's final pass of the game came with 6 minutes and 14 seconds left in the second quarter. And I mean, that's just Michigan going back to its roots. That's just a dominant rushing attack and Sharon Moore kind of just saying, we're going to keep running the ball until you can stop it. And I do think, I'm looking on Twitter during the game. I think a lot of Michigan fans were getting kind of restless a little bit. They're probably early to mid third quarter as Michigan continued to keep running. And, they had a few 3-and-outs there and they still refused to let McCarthy throw the ball, but it worked out in the end. And Penn State, I don't know which is worse or better. I don't know if Penn State's offense is worse or if Michigan's defense is just so good. I think it might be a mixture of both, but
yeah,
the Lions couldn't do anything. It was unbelievable. I wasn't expecting them to do a whole lot just because they didn't do a whole lot against Ohio State, but I mean, that was pretty abysmal. Honestly, it was rough to watch.
I thought the biggest advantages in this game were going to be Penn State's edges versus Michigan tackles, which right out the gate, we saw that. I can pull it up, not to pick on Carson Barnhart, but literally the worst graded game I've ever seen because he gave up. I'm going to pull it up so I'm not lying. But and then I thought the strength was Michigan's interior defense versus Penn State's interior offense. And that was how it played out. So like I said, Penn State's pass rush got in there early. Chop Robinson is really good. Like that's just part of it, but his speed on the outside was unreal. And I think Michigan, the plan was to run it. We know that because when Michigan sees a challenge early in the year, it was Nebraska. Josh called this, right? When it was Nebraska and then Penn State's coming in, number 1 run defense, right? They see that and they see it as a challenge. I think it's also really interesting too, because when you think about Ohio State, what did Michigan show in this game? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, right? I think that screen pass to Samaj Morgan was the most complicated play of the day, right? And they also showed, hey, you think our run game's down? It's not. We can run the ball when we want to. And if you know the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, whoever runs the ball wins that game. Whoever stops the run wins that game. And that's why a lot of Ohio State fans are crazy frustrated with Ryan Day this year. It's clear he's trying to get ready for the Michigan game, right? He's trying to, you've seen him screaming about toughness and where's Lou Holtz and blah, 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 right? But even though they have Marvin Harrison, which they've been throwing to him more now, which seems like you should just throw to him every play, but they're clearly trying to build up a run game, knowing they're going to need it against Ohio State. But anyway, yeah, Carson Barnhart, there's only 10 dropbacks, so who knows what it could have been, but he gave up 3 pressures and a sack on those 10 dropbacks. So he had an efficiency rating of 80. For comparison, like anything under 98 isn't very good. He also had a penalty called on him. His pass block grade on Pro Football Focus was literally 0.0 on a scale of 100. I have never seen that. To his benefit, though, in the run game, especially when they start pulling him and leading with him, he had a really, really good game in the run game. I don't remember if it was Klatt or who, but he said basically the tackles are run blocking guards playing tackle. It's kind of accurate, right? So we did see the edge rush, and I think that's part of why they went with the run game so much. JJ was just feeling heat as soon as he dropped back. But yeah, I don't know if I would have expected the one pass attempt. It really felt like a play action bomb could have come at any moment. I mean, I was calling for it. It just didn't. But it felt like as long as Penn State didn't get a short field, Michigan was going to be fine. And that's why I think Franklin did punt in the situation that he punted, because he's like, I got to try and flip the field. If I'm not playing on 50 yards, we're not going to score. And, Michigan was able to get out a little bit and punt, and then they got their penalty. Without that penalty, Penn State might have had a better shot, but they got backed up with the holding penalty. So, Josh, we've talked about Corum and Edwards quite a bit this year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Edwards' best game, broke 2 22-yard runs, the one for the touchdown, that other third and whatever it was near the goal line, he almost got over there as well. But this was just vintage Blake Corum in every way.
Yeah. Well, it's vintage Michigan, really. I mean, this is, it's just, I don't want to use the boa constrictor analogy that Klatt loves to use, and he thinks he's owned that trademark. But this week in particular, it's an accurate, fitting description. I mean, just, death by 1,000 paper cuts. I mean, really, it's just that is what Michigan has just done so well just throughout the years. Is just, it may look like they're bashing their heads up against the wall multiple times, but eventually that head bashing is going to break through. And that's what you saw a couple of times. Donovan Edwards with a couple big runs, Blake Corum with his 40-yarder, and especially that one dagger at the end that he scored on. That felt like vintage Michigan, where they didn't have to get cute with it. They didn't have to do anything special. They played their game, and that was it. And I want to call out, I want to see, I can't remember one of these comments. I'm trying to find it. Count 22, great strip by Benny. That was, and I know Steven mentioned it in the comments too. That was Benny's best game of his career. I mean, he was one of the highest ranked defensive players on PFF, but yeah, I mean, that was Benny.
He was the highest by far.
Yeah.
He had an 89 grade, which is higher than the next closest.
Yeah. No, that was his best game of his career. And it wasn't even close. So, that's what makes Michigan so good, because you just never know who's going to have himself a day. And, yesterday it was a Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum combination and Benny on defense. So, and Josh Wallace too, again, what a game. He had a great game. What a scouting job by Michigan to pick him up out of the portal. I mean, a lot of people were probably like, well, who the hell's this guy? What's he going to do? And we probably looking back in hindsight, we probably vastly undersold his value. I mean, we were like,
not me.
No, I did. Okay. I'll admit it.
If he's watching, Mac Daddy, I fought Mac Daddy all summer on Josh Wallace. Okay.
I said, I coming into the season, I'm like, man, if Josh Wallace can contribute, then that's a win. He's done way more than that. He's one of the Michigan's best defensive players.
Will Johnson, Josh Wallace, Mike Sain are still only corners that played on Saturday.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that he's only got 1 year, but he's he's been fantastic. I mean, what a scouting job out of the portal there.
Brock tired Josh completely off topic there. Because I want somebody to talk about the run game, and you finished.
I got distracted by the comments, and I'm like, oh, that's a good point. Oh, that's a good point. And I wanted to talk
questions about the run game, and Josh starts talking about Josh Wallace and Rayshon Benny.
Yeah, we're good. Well, the Rayshon Benny was in the comment. I'll give him that. But yeah, Corum's most carries of the year. 26.
Well, Josh Wallace was a comment too. I didn't. Okay. I didn't just pull that out.
Squirrel
comment. Yeah, was a comment.
Blake Corum led most carries of the year with 26, most yards on the year, 145 to 2 touchdowns, a 5.6 average. Edwards, 10 carries, 52 yards, 2 22-yarders, 5.2 average, got into the end zone. And then, as we expected, Brock, we saw JJ run quite a bit, probably more than we would have liked even. Saw him get up with a limp at one point. He's obviously fine, but Your thoughts on the run game or whatever you feel like talking about.
It looked really good.
I love you, John.
To be honest, this is actually maybe going a little bit off topic, but it was a run play. The 4th and 1 when Michigan was driving into Penn State territory and McCarthy rolled out and he had 2 reads, I think. I think one was Donovan Edwards, the other one was Barner or Loveland. Either was open. And for McCarthy to be able to put his foot in the ground and fight for that 1 yard that Michigan needed to get the first down, and even more, he got like 6 or 7 on the play. That was a huge play in the game for Michigan to continue that drive. I think that may have been their drive when they had 13 plays for 45 yards in 8 minutes or something.
Wrong guy. Oh no!
Unbelievable. If you wanted to dissect the run game. And
hold on, Brock.
I banned the wrong guy. Oh, Ottawa traitor! I am so sorry. I banned the wrong.
That's a drive to look at.
Can you unban him?
I'm trying. Oh, Ottawa traitor! I am so sorry.
That's one of our best people.
I know. I'll fix it.
Okay, sorry, Brock.
That's all right. I was just saying. If you wanted to look at Michigan's run game and dissect it and look at what it wasn't explosive, but it worked.
Still
and 13 straight run plays and to chew up 8 minutes of time and only go 45 yards, that's almost impossible. That's literally like almost the best possible scenario for a team in a drive. If you're looking to kill clock, is to go only 45 yards in 8 minutes. It was really remarkable. One game, there were a few people that were concerned going into this game just because, Corum and Edwards haven't looked as good as they have last year, and maybe the offensive line hasn't been as efficient either. But that sure probably changed a lot of people's minds and makes Michigan fans a lot more comfortable going into the Ohio State game, knowing that, okay, Michigan did this against Penn State, went for 227 and 3 touchdowns for 5 yards a carry. Michigan fans should be thinking and being pretty confident that the Wolverines can go into that big game in 2 weeks and do hopefully the same thing against the Buckeyes, or maybe even a little better. I don't think their Ohio State's run defense is as highly thought of as Penn State's is. So it's got to be very comforting feeling for Michigan fans, that's for sure.
Yeah, you wonder if they're going to be – that was my thought. I think I texted Josh this at one point that this reminded me of the 2021 Ohio State game and the way that Michigan was trying to win it, which was just relying on their defense and running the ball, controlling the game, avoiding turnovers, right? But Ohio State had a much more threatening offense in that 21 game, right? CJ Stroud, despite what people think with all the weather and he had almost 400 yards in that game, right? Michigan was letting him move between the 20s. It was just keeping him out of the end zone and then scoring every time they got the ball, blah, blah, blah. That continues to be my feeling going into this game this year with Ohio State. Well, we're getting way ahead of myself. We'll wait on that for a minute. Just on Blake Corum real quick. Him feeling like it was a down year, I do think a ton of that just has to do with the lack of carries. If you take his yard per carry average, adjust the amount of carries to be similar to last year, the yardage is right there. The touchdowns literally are. He's at 18 now. He just tied his total from last season. He's 2 away from tying Hassan Haskins for the record for most single season touchdowns, other than back in 1904 when all they did was run the ball or whatever. And I wrote about it today.
To break the program record.
What's that?
He's on track to break the program record. He only needs 7 more, I think, to break it. And if Michigan plays in 5 more games, it's going to happen. So
he's got a bunch of stuff where if he gets another 1,000-yard season, he'll have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, first time since Denard and Mike Hart. His career rushing yards, he's close to getting into like 6th all time in that. Like I said, the article I did today on this, he's a really strong finish away from being arguably, there's a lot of opinion on this, but when you talk about the best running backs in Michigan football history, Tyrone Wheatley, Ron Johnson, Anthony Thomas, Mike Hart, obviously. He's at least in that top 5 conversation, maybe higher depending on how he finishes. pretty remarkable given what he went through with the injury and coming back. And this is what we talked about, saving him for games like this, keeping him fresh, healthy, so that he can get you 25 carries in a game against Penn State and hopefully in a game against Ohio State. Brock, you said it earlier, and I wanted to come back to this too. You said, if I had gone to a fan and said, hey, JJ goes 7 of 8, 60 yards, you think Michigan wins? You're like, oh, no way. What if I also said Roman Wilson doesn't get a reception? Do you think Michigan? What if I also said the Michigan defense doesn't get a sack? Right? It's kind of unbelievable how they won this game. There's not a lot to talk about with the passing game, in terms of the receptions obviously being what they are and the amount of throws. It's just the way the game plan went. JJ, to his character, I guess, arguably this probably cost him the Heisman in any aspect, whether he had a chance at it or not, and he does not care. So I think that just speaks to him and his team atmosphere, or not atmosphere, but Samaj Morgan made another couple plays. He continues to rise and be a big factor in the offense. But yeah, the defense, Josh Brock said it. I don't know if it's Penn State's offense is down or Michigan's defense is up. I agree with him. I do think it's both. I think Michigan attacked the weaknesses of Penn State's offense. We can talk about Drew Aller. I know they fired the OC today, so they're arguing, and that's the QB coach too. I don't think it's him. I don't know. I do think there's something with Penn State, but they don't have the weapons at wide receiver they have in the past, whatever. But this defense, again, no sacks, but 18 pressures. We've talked about this before. Pressures, win rate, just as valuable as getting a sack because it forces the QB to make mistakes. It forces turnovers. Just the middle of this defense, man. Mason Graham, Rayshon Benny in rotation, making plays. Kenneth Grant with one of the most freakish things I've ever seen on a football field. Right, Chris Jenkins made plays. You come back into the linebackers, Barrett, Colson, even Houseman, limited, made plays. Best game I think we've seen from Rod Moore this year. Makari Page made plays as well again. And then for some reason, when Penn State did throw the ball, they decided to throw it towards Will Johnson. He had 6 targets in this game. Right. 6. You know how many receptions? 1. Yep. Why are you throwing it? Will Johnson, man. But anyway, we keep talking about one of the best defenses ever, blah, blah, blah. But wow. Yeah. Whatever you think of the Penn State offense, wow.
Well, it's clear James Franklin can't develop a quarterback. He just can't do it. He ruined Christian Hackenberg. I guess Trace McSorley would probably benefited more from Saquon than anyone. Yeah. Kenneth Grant, excuse me. Sean Clifford. I don't know where that came from. Kenneth Grant. I reading the comments again.
There's 4 straight Kenneth Grant comments.
So just getting distracted again. Sean Clifford is a dog. I'll give him that. He's a ballsy player. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't.
He was never really appreciated. He was a good player, absolutely.
For sure. No, and I just don't think James Franklin can develop a quarterback. So Grant runs pretty close. I
bet it's 4.6, dude.
That's impressive.
4.6, 4.7. Kenneth Grant, 340.
Put him on. Just put him on the freak list already. Just put him at number 1. So
I can't remember if it was Singleton or Allen now because I corrected you the other night, but. When he's running, I swear he could hear Kenneth Grant.
Yeah.
Because he looks back and sees this truck coming at him.
Yeah. And I do, by the way, I want to sidetrack just slightly. I do want to welcome back Ottawa Traveler. I apologize again for Tony Petitting you. Fortunately, I reinstated you without having to go.
Oh, my God.
So, welcome back. I apologize. I went to go ban a Buckeye mouth breather in the comments, and for some reason, when I clicked on the Buckeye, the chat moved so anyway, I accidentally.
Yeah, you will not get due process in our comment section.
No, I was smart and I gave him due process and I allowed him to come back. So we're good there.
I like this. Did he hear him? How about felt the ground vibrate behind him? Like the water moving on Jurassic Park. Yeah. Oh, John got me too. He said the same thing.
Yeah, no, I mean,
like the T-Rex.
He's just It's just, yeah, it's insanity. And like that guy, a 3-star recruit out of Indiana. I mean, well, 3 to 4-star, I guess, depending on who you talk to.
We've talked about the COVID cycle and the home run hits that are Grant and Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant have to come back next year.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, we can talk. Yeah, it's they had an insane hit rate with their COVID year class, which probably benefited from a lot of people because they were able to uncover some gems just because due to the fact that not many people are going out and scouting. So
yeah, I mean, they do it anyway. They tend to do a really good job of finding
yeah, no,
for
sure.
We've seen multiple recruits in the 24 class skyrocketing up rankings because folks like on our site Rivals are watching their plays for the first time going, how the crap did Mike Hart find this dude? Blah, blah, blah. Right. But anyway, Brock, from your viewpoint in the press box, what really stuck out to you with the Michigan defense on Saturday?
Well, it was nice being in the press box. The way Penn State is set up, the press box is actually pretty low. I think that's the closest I've been to the field all year. So it was nice. What stood out to me, and Josh was kind of just talking about it, but that the fact that the so-called second stringers of Rayshon Benny and Kenneth Grant, I think I could be mistaken, but Kenneth Grant may have started the game yesterday. I could be wrong, but right. I think I saw him out there.
Yes, he's marked as a starter. Yep.
That's what I thought. But the so-called second stringers of Kenneth Grant and Rayshon Benny, in my opinion, and probably most people's, outplayed Chris Jenkins and Mason Graham, which just goes to show how crazy the depth is on Michigan's defense. Trevor, you brought it up earlier. The trio of Mikey Sainristil, Josh Wallace, and Will Johnson were the only 3 corners to play, so not a whole lot of rotation back there. But it bodes so well for Michigan going into this home stretch of the season that they have so many guys that they trust and that are consistent contributors up front. Chris Jenkins, Mason Graham, Rayshon Benny, Kenneth Grant, Cam Good. He's stepped up a ton.
Really good game for Cam Good.
Yep. He's a big contributor now, and Michigan is just in a really good spot with how much they rotate. Even on the edges too. Braden McGregor, Jalen Harrell, Josiah Stewart, Derek Moore. Some of them were kind of quiet yesterday. Like you said, Trevor, no sacks. But, I mean, going into this home stretch, and I've talked about it all year long, it's really going to bode well for Michigan in these bigger games where they can rotate these guys and not see so much of a drop-off between guys like Mason Graham and Chris Jenkins, who are technically maybe the starters, and bringing in Rayshon Benny and Kenneth Grant and seeing no drop-off. It's going to be it's going to work in Michigan's favor in a huge way, I think, as the Ohio State game gets closer, and if Michigan has to play a team like Georgia or another physical team, maybe in Alabama, even if they sneak in. But yeah, just the rotation. We've talked about it a lot all year, but they have so many guys that they're comfortable with and that they can trust, and that's really going to help them in the home stretch here.
No, 100%. And then for people that wondered, like, oh, they haven't played 4 quarters, are they going to get gassed if they go through? Nope. Will Johnson played 60 snaps on Saturday. Michael Barrett, 58. Sainristil, 57. Junior Colson, 54. Rod Moore, 53. We did see it on the line as well. Mason Graham, 43 snaps. Jalen Harrell, 39. McGregor, 35. Kenneth Grant, 33. These are dudes that haven't played 30 snaps all year. So they have it in them, right? It's not like just a conditioning thing. And I'm with you 100%. I think that's going to be the difference throughout this stretch they go into, being able to stay fresh, healthy, rotate. And like you said, without much of a drop off, right? You never know which week a guy is going to have a game. And that was probably part of it, right? This offensive line, you're dealing with Mason Graham and Jenkins and Kenneth Grant, and you see Rayshon Benny, you go, oh, okay, finally I can get a break. Nope. They're just relentless, man. It's really incredible. I'm trying to think of everything I said I wanted to get back to. I mean, the most obvious that we haven't talked about yet is acting head coach Sherrone Moore, right? Jim Harbaugh gets suspended, we'll say, because that's what it is. But you know, the university gets punished by allowing them to not have their head coach for 3 games. We find that on Friday. Based on things we had heard, we were confident. Michigan was obviously ready to file for the temporary restraining order. I don't want to get into, I've seen lawyers argue about should they have gone federal, the state, blah, blah, blah. We thought Michigan was probably going to be in a good position to get the TRO so he could coach on Saturday. We weren't even sure until an hour and a half before the game. He's literally back at the hotel with like a police escort ready to go. And with how crazy the information was, Bruce Feldman didn't tweet, went on national television and said the TRO is getting approved and Jim Harbaugh is going to coach today. And 2 or 3 minutes later, the rest of everybody kind of came out and said, no, he's not. And we've since learned that if you thought that this suspension from Petiti was to appease the upset members of the Big Ten, I don't think you can think that anymore. To file this as late as they did on Friday, on a holiday, knowing full well the delay and issue that was going to cause for Michigan. And then they had a local lawyer ready when Michigan filed the TRO, which normally the other side doesn't have to be there. It can just be a quick injunction, schedule a future hearing. They had a local attorney ready to be able to come in and say, no, we need a full hearing. We have to be here. So this was done to inflict pain on Michigan. There's just the timing of it and everything. I thought Pete Thamel kind of let that out of the bag a little bit when he was arguing with Desmond Howard, when he said something along, because I don't remember exactly how Howard said it, but he kind of suggested well, now you're creating an unfair advantage for Penn State. Thamel was like, well, yeah, that's the point. Michigan's had this advantage all year. And now really? But anyway, Sherrone Moore put in a really difficult situation, Josh. I think we talked about, I probably would have liked someone else to be in the HC role because then he can handle his OC duties and his offensive line duties, thinking of it from a logistics standpoint. What the end of the game showed me is something we know, which is these players already think of Sherrone Moore like a head coach. We know Jim Harbaugh thinks of him like a head coach. And the emotion and passion and love for his players was evident right at the end of the game. So Sherrone Moore was named the head coach because whoever else would have been named the head coach would have been in name only. It's clear the respect both ways that exists with Sherrone Moore.
Yeah, no, after that post-game interview, he can be the coach in waiting for all I care at this point. I mean,
I hate that term, but
I mean, it is what
it is at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, keeping him around. I mean, it really, and this is obviously way forward thinking, but the longer he stays, the more the likelihood of him taking over for whenever that day that Harbaugh decides to step away, it's going to be, Sherrone's job. But yeah, I mean, that was pure emotion. People who were downplaying that are just weirdos. I mean, yeah, people that are saying, Sherrone might not get a job after this because the presidents are going to be offended. Hey, newsflash, DJ Jerkin literally killed a kid and he's employed right now. I mean, I don't think just because someone said a little naughty word on TV doesn't make their, employment status any less desirable than it was before. Because guess what? Your favorite coach swears at his players. Oh, did I just break? Oh, no. I think I just broke some news I wasn't supposed to break here, boys. Your coach swears. He says bad words to his players.
Well, and
really
if I have to choose between a man who was just, I mean, I can't think of the stress that was put on him this week, right? That was just a release of stress from the entire week, right? But if I got to choose somebody who's overly emotional for a head coach, would I rather have somebody who is, I don't mean to be cheesy, but over emotional because of the love he feels, or overly emotional wondering where an 86-year-old man is that said something bad about him?
Right.
I'll take the guy that's overwhelmed with the love for his players. Just me.
Yeah, or a guy who can't take responsibility for a loss and his dumb play calling decision. So, I mean, it goes both ways.
I want to add a little bit to this. For all the arguments of people that say oh, Sherrone Moore just ruined his chances of ever getting a head coaching position anytime soon or anything like that. I think universities would rather have someone who's that emotional and fired up after a big win and maybe says a few bad words on TV rather than they'd rather that than not that. They'd rather have that emotion than a guy who says a few bad words. The reward of someone who's that emotional and cares that much about his players and the university and the president and Moore went on and on. The reward of all of that is much greater than the maybe the small bad look it is when the coach says a few bad words on TV. So I wouldn't read much into those comments by mainly Ohio State fans that say that Moore ruined a chance at getting a head coaching position or anything like that. The emotion was there. His 20 minutes after the game was over and Sherrone Moore finally made his way into the media room, his eyes were still red. They were still kind of swollen from all the tears, and you could just tell how much it meant to him. And Trevor, like you said, and probably an hour and a half before the game, he's told that he's going to be coaching. And all of a sudden it's like, all right, my entire day just changed in a 2-second conversation probably. And all of a sudden he's got to focus on being the head coach instead of the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach. And he did a great job. You could tell how much it meant to him.
You mean to tell me that Michigan's going to be stuck with Sherrone Moore now because he swore? Oh, no. Michigan's stuck with Sherrone Moore? Oh.
Well, and I saw people saying stuff like, Harbaugh didn't die. Geez, blah, blah, blah. He just got suspended. Take a step back for a moment. Sherrone Moore was the tight end coach at Central Michigan University, right? I don't mean that as a shot. That was his last position. He played football at Oklahoma. He coached at Louisville. He was an up-and-coming coach. But he was a tight end coach at Central Michigan, right? And Jim Harbaugh brought him in and believed in him. And when Jim Harbaugh decided to move on from Ed Warner, who was one of the big names in coaching when it comes to the offensive line, and put in Sherrone Moore, a lot of people questioned the decision. He's never coached O-line before. We're getting rid of Ed Warner. The O-line's been so good, blah, blah. 2 straight Joe Moore awards as soon as he becomes O-line coach, right? Makes him co-OC. He's never been a co-OC. What are you doing, blah, blah, blah. You saw the offense last year. Sole play caller this year. Most efficient offense in college football, yards per play, points per play. Every single time that Jim Harbaugh has given Sherrone Moore an opportunity, he's not only met it, he's exceeded it and become one of the best in the country. Nobody believes in Sherrone Moore more than Jim Harbaugh. That probably means a lot to him. And he publicly gives his support to Sherrone Moore any chance he can, right? Imagine what's going on behind the scenes. Sherrone Moore has allowed Jim Harbaugh to accomplish a lot of things that he wants to as well, not just as a coach, but as a father and a family man and everything, the balance that he's been able to bring in. Yeah, he loves Jim Harbaugh, right? I'm not even talking about salary. How much money? How has he changed Sherrone Moore's life in the last few years, right? And I don't know if he's going to stay and be the head coach in waiting that's the problem with that is you never know what's going to come up, what's going to happen. Texas A&M might offer Sherrone Moore that position because he played at Oklahoma and they could find, you know what I mean? Like you never know, but he's in the running for these big head coach opportunities because of Jim Harbaugh, right? To see Jim stay back, who is probably devastated to not be there for his players. That probably hurt more. That was probably hard for him. And this entire week, you want to go back 3 weeks, right? Say what you want about Jim. He has done an incredible job absorbing all of this heat. He keeps saying that. As long as it's coming at me, I don't care. As long as it's not my players, right? So I don't know. If you want to judge the emotion of Sherrone Moore, go right ahead, but you're not in his shoes, man. And I think it's you want to talk about like not being manly or whatever. I think empathy is pretty manly. And I think being able to show is manly, and you going after a guy you don't know, that's not manly either. So check yourself.
Well said. I agree. 100%.
All right. I don't want to blow past Maryland because we don't want Michigan to blow past Maryland, right? That's obviously the next game on the schedule. We don't know if Jim Harbaugh is going to be there. We'll find out Friday. Again, I made the joke to Josh. I don't want to ever relay confidence with lawyers or judges ever again for the same kind of reason. Like when a recruit decides to commit somewhere else, like you said, dude, you can't hold me to account for a 17-year-old changing his mind. I'm in the same boat with lawyers and judges now. I will tell you when things are going to happen. I'm not predicting anymore. I'm not doing it.
Well, I hope we never have to deal with lawyers and
it's just so stupid.
Judges again.
Yeah. So we will say, so Michigan is obviously seeking an injunction that would allow Jim Harbaugh to continue to coach. If they don't get that, he's out for the rest of the regular season, which would include Maryland, which will be Michigan's shot at its 1,000th win, which, I mean, God, Jim Harbaugh not being able to be there, that's going to hurt him.
Yeah.
That's really going to hurt him. This is a guy that has been a part of a lot of wins at Michigan as a player, as a young kid watching his dad coach, and then obviously as a head coach himself. But then obviously he might not be there for Ohio State. But we're not going to talk about that till we know. So let's assume Michigan beats Maryland. If they don't, they still have their shot through the Big Ten beating Ohio State anyway. But let's assume they move past Maryland. Is there anything in this game, Josh, that I kind of asked you something similar when Penn State and Ohio State played each other, but was there anything in this game that made you more or less confident in terms of how Michigan matches up? And you could throw in what happened with them in Michigan State as well, but knowing Maryland's next and then Ohio State, anything in this Penn State game make you either more cautious or more confident?
I'm more confident for me. I think Michigan beats Ohio State sitting here right today. I think so. I think they've proven that they can go out there and manhandle a top 5 defense nationally. And I do think Penn State is a top 5 defense nationally. And they went out there and manhandled them. Did what Michigan does so well and bully people into submission. And I see no reason why that they can't do that again, in next week. So I think, heading into this Maryland game, I mean, yeah, the 1,000th win is plenty to play for. Obviously we'll find out one way or the other if Jim Harbaugh is going to be there. But if he's not, then some added motivation in there, and they know the score, they understand, they can't look past Maryland. The big one is looming. I mean, now we're closer than ever to it, but it's right there, and they know that they don't, they know that they can't overlook this team. So I think the big thing, yes, I am confident that they can beat Ohio State today, and they just got to get out of this game healthy. They got to just play the game, do the thing, just do their thing, and they'll be fine on Saturday. Just keep going and keep on that path.
Quick note for me here on the Maryland game before I give my 2 cents on the Ohio State game. For Harbaugh not to be there for this, Trevor, you already talked about it, but I want to talk about it too. This is something, it took them 144 years to get to 1,000 wins. So this is something that when Michigan does get to 2,000, it's not going to happen probably in any of our grandkids' lifetimes, right? And so for Harbaugh, a guy who watched his dad coach, played at Michigan, is coaching at Michigan, he loves Michigan football so much, and for him to potentially miss this game for something as small as what everyone's talking about, it kills me just thinking about it. I can't imagine how he must feel. I'm really hoping he'll be able to be there, because I know how much it'll mean to him. He talked about it earlier in the season and everything they have planned for it, and this is just such a remarkable moment, and to be the first team ever to reach 1,000 too is cool. That's just my thoughts. I hope he'll be there. But turning the page to Ohio State, I'm more confident. I'm right there with Josh. I think the only way Ohio State could win is if Marvin Harrison Jr. just has some ridiculous game where he just takes over. But there are 2 reasons why I think that won't happen. First of all, Steven said it in there in the chat, Michigan has Will Johnson, and Will Johnson's one of the best corners in college football. And Michigan and Jesse Minter and Mike McDonald have done such a good job playing defense against the Ohio State receivers the past couple years. Harrison had that one touchdown catch last year and the year before in 2021. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, all of them, like you said, Trevor, earlier, CJ Stroud threw for a lot of yards, but they were empty yards. They didn't do a whole lot in Michigan. Mike McDonald did a really good job in that game. The Michigan defense was great. And last year, Jamon Green was the one who gave up the touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr. So that's reason one. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. will have a big game. And reason two, I don't trust Kyle McCord. I don't trust him.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. I don't trust Kyle McCord to be able to consistently put the ball on Marvin Harrison Jr.'s frame if Will Johnson is on him. And I just don't think that Ohio State's offense will be explosive enough. Right, yeah. Force McCord to be uncomfortable. And he's significantly worse when he's under pressure. And if the Michigan defensive line can get home on what's probably a worse Ohio State offensive line than Penn State's offensive line was, and Michigan was still back there getting pressure on Aller, I just don't see it. I think the Michigan crowd is going to be rocking. It's going to be two 11-0 teams, just like it was last year. And this is the de facto Big Ten championship game, whether it's called that or not. It is. It's the Big Ten championship. I can't believe
Iowa. They're going to play Iowa again. Oh,
right.
It's too bad Cade and all aren't healthy. That would have been a great story.
Yeah,
it would be. But I don't see it. I think, and at this point, one more thing on this game. I could talk all day about it, but McCarthy said after the game yesterday, what makes Michigan so good, in his opinion, is that they can adapt, and whatever the defense is giving them, they can adapt. They can change their play style. They can run for 227 yards on the nation's top-ranked rushing defense, or they can throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns or whatever it was he had against Michigan State. They can do both ends of the extreme and everything in between. And so whatever Ohio State takes away, Michigan will be able to attack the opposite. I don't trust Jim Knowles' defense. I think they might overcorrect a little bit and try to guard against the big running plays that Donovan Edwards had last year. And I think that opens up the passing game for McCarthy. And once that happens, they might bring the defensive backs deeper, and that'll open up the run game. I don't see a path for an Ohio State win. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, they're a really good team. Let's be clear. Michigan, Georgia, and Ohio State have kind of been in that top 3 in whatever order for a while. I think they're a really good team. I do think defensively, overall, they're better this year. I'm with you when it comes to Jim Knowles and the boom or bust defense and, giving up big plays. I think Michigan, especially their offense this year, JJ obviously being better. And then I think my biggest question was, I do the stock report every week, and I believed the run game could still do it, but to get to see it against Penn State's #1 run defense in the country made me feel a lot better. It did. I'm just going to be honest. That raised my confidence a little bit. But yeah, I mean, to your point, Brock, when it comes to, I just don't care who their wide receivers are. Marvin Harrison is probably, I don't know, since Calvin, in terms of wide receiver prospect and tools, the dude's unbelievable. Okay. But 2022, okay. Egbuka, 9 receptions, 125 yards. Marvin Harrison, 7, 120. They had a touchdown apiece. 2021, JSN, 11, 127 yards. Garrett Wilson, 10 receptions, 119. Chris Olave, 7, 88 yards. 1 touchdown between the 3 of them. They've had NFL first-round pick wide receivers for the last 3 years, right? They also had, I know Michigan fans don't love to admit it, CJ Stroud was a really, really good quarterback in college. And he's not just like rookie of the year in the NFL this year. He's in MVP conversation. Yeah. Dude is really good. We talked about his ability to stand in the pocket, on the run to the right, touch. He's just a really, really good quarterback. I don't care how good McCord is. He's not going to do what CJ Stroud did. And if that wasn't enough for the last 2 years, and you're going to be in Ann Arbor this year, I don't see it. I'm with you. Would I be shocked? It's not like I think Ohio State has no chance. No, they're a really good football team. There's a reason you play football games. You never know what's going to happen. But if you did Michigan, Ohio State, they played 10 times or whatever. I think Michigan wins 7 or 8 of the times this year, right? So Michigan just has to do whatever they can, which is not make mistakes, don't turn the ball over, control the game, everything you've done for the last, 2 and 75% years to win. As long as you don't beat yourself, you win that game. But Ohio State's obviously good enough that if you open the door, they're going to come through. But I mean, that's kind of the difference, right? In this rivalry, Michigan was the one that beat themselves with the dumb penalties and weird play calls. In the last few years, it's been Ohio State, despite what, now it's, they cheated, but, botching your own fake punt, the unnecessary roughness on the sideline, the incompletion on the 4th down with Jalen Harrell, even though you had the matchup, etc. Right? It's about making the mistakes and your team taking advantage. And yeah, just I'll before we go to the next thing, I'll finish up too with what you said about Jim. I hate what this entire scandal has been blown up to, and it's what it was set up to be from the beginning. The expectation of this elaborate scheme and this military tactician and everything. And all we've learned as this has gone on is Connor Stallions, bless you, but selling refurbished vacuums out of his house. I mean, again, this elaborate scheme that he's buying the tickets with his own name and paying with his personal Venmo. And the only person they've tied to this, to going to the games, was the D3 coach, who was like, yeah, it started raining. And I was like, screw this, I'm not sticking around. Right. Other than that, it seems to just be like random college kids or whatever. And we've also seen evidence of what we've talked about forever, which is everyone steals signs. They're calling it in-person scouting now. I don't know if you've noticed that. They stopped calling it sign stealing because we saw what Illinois and Ohio State and Purdue had last year with every one of Michigan's signs and calls linked. We saw what Josh and I had released this week, that the 2018 play call sheet that Ohio State had with every Don Brown signal linked to the plays, that they were able to create from broadcast footage and all 22 footage, because that's why the NCAA said this rule is so outdated. The dumbest thing about this scandal is that Connor ever even did it. You didn't need to. Mm-hmm. There was no reason to get this iPhone footage. You don't need it, right? And the idea that, there's no way Jim Harbaugh would have known. We've seen other sign stealers accomplish it through broadcast footage. He would have assumed that he was doing the same thing. Everybody has a sign stealer. Every time they show a video of him standing next to a coach, see, yes, that was his job. We know that. Mm-hmm. But yes, he sent in-person scouts. He's been fired, resigned, whatever. Should Michigan get fines and punishment for what Connor Stallions did? Absolutely. But man, please stop with this holier-than-thou attitude that player safety is at risk. Dude, I almost swore. The arrogance, knowing full well everybody's stealing signs and has them, that player safety was at risk. The competitive advantage when everybody's doing it. Get out of here. It's not the Astros. It's not the Patriots. It's not this massive cheating scandal that you want it to be. It's something. They break a rule that you almost got rid of and it's outdated and blah, blah, blah. It's something. And there should be punishment when the process ends. But to prevent Jim Harbaugh from being there at Penn State with how massive of a game that was, from potentially missing the 1,000th win, from potentially missing Ohio State, it's just cruel, right? Because this is what the other coaches in the 80s wanted. Anyway, I didn't know I had that rant built into me. But
as Biff Poggi said, quit whining and get a better team.
Hashtag get a better team.
And he nailed it. I mean,
that's going to be
more accurate.
That's going to be the irony. What do you want to bet? The Big Ten will argue in court that this penalty is not irreparable harm because, look, Michigan went and beat Penn State without Harbaugh. They don't need him. It's not that big of a punishment. I promise you they're going to make that argument. Because, I mean, that's why they were damned if they do, damned if they don't. And this is all, we'll talk about real quick before we wrap up kind of the CFP and that landscape moving forward. It doesn't matter. As long as they win their games, they're in control, whatever, right? I thought it was interesting, Josh, and I think some people got a little fired up by this, but when the CFP was at the chair, I can't think of his name right now, I apologize, but when he was basically asked, hey, now that he got suspended, are you guys going to consider this? Coming from the angle of, well, since Michigan's being punished for it, obviously you're going to consider punishing them too, right? And he basically said the opposite, which is every time we evaluate games, we consider whether players were missing, right? And we would do the same thing with a coach. We don't look forward. We're not projecting for who we think will win. We're only looking back and judging your resume. So basically saying that Penn State win is more impressive because Jim Harbaugh wasn't there. And we will consider that. Sorry, we're not keeping them out as bad as you freaking want us to.
Yeah, no, finally someone that has some sense and common sense around here. I mean, he could not be more accurate. I mean, yeah, what exactly? Exactly. I mean, like this is probably going to bump Michigan up a spot. I mean, big deal at this point. Who cares? But I mean, this will probably gain some, I don't know, goodwill amongst the CFP panel. But yeah, I mean, and you got to think of the circumstances too. I mean, yeah, Michigan knew that, he was suspended, a good 12, 24 hour, whatever, before the game. But, they learned
on the plane.
Yeah, they learned of Harbaugh. Yeah, let me get to my point. Let me get to my point here.
You're not fired up tonight, and I am.
So let me get to my point. I'm getting there.
Where's that?
No, they were on the plane when they found out, but they could not. They didn't know until they landed. So that's another thing that's held against them. And obviously going into the game completely unsure whether Harbaugh is going to coach, and then finding out an hour and a half before kickoff that Harbaugh isn't going to be there. Again, that's another thing that goes against them. I mean, they were obviously prepared that I was going to mention that. I'm like, all right, well, let Trevor have his moment here.
I love that.
I know, that's a great comparison.
I love it. I mean, I'd rather be Travis right now.
Yeah. Travis has got it going on for sure. Yeah. So they had a couple of things going against them in this game, and yeah, that'll probably gain some goodwill. And I don't know if that same excuse will be used next weekend too, when Michigan plays Maryland, or, the week after too, when they play Ohio State, because that stuff's going to get worked out. And, Michigan at this point running the table, obviously, and that includes the Big Ten championship game. I mean, yeah, they're going to make the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, it just comes down to a lot of people who are, having these hot takes just don't know football very well. And it's okay. Just admit you don't know football.
Was it Bruce Feldman that was like, oh, I've heard it's worth 21 points?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
What? Anyway, Brock, go ahead.
Just learn football.
The thing that I'm going to be most interested to look at, two things as we get closer to the release of the college football playoff, is number one, where is Michigan going to be on Tuesday? Because that win at Penn State is at least a top 3 win in college football this year. It's probably right up there with maybe Texas's win over Alabama. That was on the road at Bryant-Denny. I could be wrong about that, but I think it was at Alabama.
It was.
That was a big win. But I think Michigan's win at Penn State is probably right up there, number 1 or number 2. Where does that stand in the eyes of the committee compared to Ohio State's home win against Penn State? And then if the committee is still looking at that win over Notre Dame for the Buckeyes, then so be it. That's probably better than Michigan's. That is better than Michigan's second best win, whatever that may be on the schedule. And then Georgia too. Where do they fit in with? They just beat Ole Miss at home, and they beat Missouri, I think, the week before that, also at home, if I'm not mistaken. They don't have as big of a win as Michigan either. So I wonder
Georgia and Michigan's schedule when during the first CFP rankings, Georgia and Michigan were remarkably comparable. So while everybody wanted to put Ohio State at 1, which again was largely because of the Penn State win, and then obviously the Notre Dame win, which has become less and less valuable. But then Georgia didn't get the same treatment as Michigan. So yeah, it's interesting.
Right. And so if you're looking at just comparing best wins, I do think Michigan has a better best win than Georgia does, but Georgia might have more good wins than Michigan does. And so I wonder if the committee focuses on more good wins or if they focused on which team has the best win. I think if they're looking at which team has the best win, Michigan would be number 1, but I don't think that's what they'll do. I think they'll stick with Ohio State at 1. I think they might stick with the same top 4, top 5. I don't know if Michigan's win over Penn State is enough to move them up. And then the second thing I'm looking at, one of our message board posters posted something either this morning or last night about the ESPN staff college football playoff predictions week by week as the season has gone on. And the most recent predictions that came out yesterday after the games was 12 of the 15 ESPN staff writers at this point in time have both Michigan and Ohio State in the playoff again for the second year in a row. I don't see that happening. They must be predicting some chaos in the Pac-12 because to me the assumption is Georgia, Florida State, and one of Michigan and Ohio State went out. And if Washington wins out, they're in. And if Oregon wins out, they're in. So unless there's a two-loss Pac-12 champ, I don't see a way where the loser of the Michigan-Ohio State game gets in unless Florida State or Georgia slip up. I don't see
even
it.
Even if Georgia slips up, like let's say we get Bama beating Georgia in the SEC championship game, they're both in.
They're both in, yeah.
Yeah, so
then we get the winner of the game and Florida State probably or Washington maybe. I don't know, but
yeah. I always feel like this stuff always works out. Like we get to this point, I'm going to pull up the S&P here real quick. I feel like this stuff always works itself out. So like right now we're like, oh man, all these undefeated teams, blah, blah, blah. But we'll see. I'm a big fan of SP Plus. Massive. I think Bill Connolly does an incredible job of not only the data that he provides, but explaining it, right? Like, and how he gets to where he's at. So right now you've got 3 teams that are in the top 10 rankings of offense, defense, and special teams. Michigan, clear number 1, 30.8. That is a massive rating. Massive. And the gap to Georgia at 27.9. They're also top 3 offense, defense, and special teams. And then kind of surprising, Florida State, top 3 in each category. But again, even undefeated, they're down at 7. What I like about this is it's not considering just record, right? So Penn State played well enough. This is the James Franklin factor. They played well enough that they probably could have beaten Ohio State and probably could have beaten Michigan, right? I talked about if you play the game 10 times, how many does it work out? That's why Penn State, even at 8-2, is sitting at 5 in the SP Plus rankings. The reason I bring that up is, according to this, Michigan has the best win of the year, beating Penn State on the road by a larger margin than what Ohio State beat them by at home. And now Ohio State fans are like, oh, I thought that win didn't matter. No, I just thought it was interesting that it was enough to make you number 1. And I literally asked the question. I said, okay, so if Michigan goes into Happy Valley and beats Penn State, and let's just pretend they wash. I'm not even going to argue Michigan's win was better, but let's just pretend they wash. You've got your win over Notre Dame. Fine. Ohio State also struggled with Wisconsin, who just lost to Northwestern, right? And Rutgers, right? So at some point, and I saw somebody put the comment of the committee doesn't consider the eye test enough. I know their schedule was soft. We all know that. But at some point, doesn't what happened in the games matter? Isn't Michigan's dominance in their other 9 games now added with the fact that they did it? They passed the test against Penn State. Isn't that enough? You know, like I do think Georgia's going to be 1. I think they were waiting to put them there, and now the win against Missouri and Ole Miss, regardless if they were SEC teams being boosted, blah, 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 whatever. I think Georgia's probably going to go to 1. I don't know if they're going to drop Ohio State from 1 to 3, if they'll put Michigan above them at 2. I think they probably should. I don't know if they will. It's also a problem that's going to solve itself in 2 weeks when Michigan and Ohio State play each other. But yeah, I'm with you, Brock. I'm looking at this and I'm going, Oregon lost by 3 on the road to Washington State. Washington. They're arguably better than Washington because Washington's defense is not very good. We've seen them struggle with Arizona and USC and some other teams because of it. Oregon's a little bit better across the board. So they rematch in the Pac-12. That's probably the winner getting in. Florida State at this point, like you said, it would probably just take a massive mess up for them to be out. And then, yeah, Bama, of course. Of course, they're right there. They're never out of it, right? But, hey, Jalen Milroe playing out of his mind. That was, coming into this season, I don't think people realized when it comes to like composite recruiting rankings and the total talent on the team, Alabama is the best team ever in terms of just recruiting composite rankings this year. So, man, if them and Georgia both don't drop a game between now and the SEC championship, whew, but this might be they might have to rush in the 12-team playoff ahead of schedule, Josh, because if they don't work themselves out, and even we didn't even bring up Texas.
Yeah.
If Texas beats Oklahoma again, and they're Big 12 champs with a win over Bama. They're out of it still, right? Because you've got Michigan and Ohio State, whoever wins that.
Yep.
You've got Georgia, or maybe both if Bama wins, but let's assume Georgia wins out. The Pac-12 champ, both of them are right there ahead of you, right? Man, it's crazy. Yeah, because if Oklahoma wins that game, they're a 2-loss. Yeah, they're the conference champ. They've avenged. But man, I don't know. It's crazy.
Oh, go ahead, Brock.
I was just going to say, I just see zero chance where the loser of the Michigan-Ohio State game gets in. I think there are way too many other good teams that are there at the top to take that 4th spot. And at this point, it's going to be Michigan's season would have been over if they had lost yesterday. So it's going to be probably another everything's going to be on the line for Michigan in 2 weeks. That's just what it's going to be.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the wheels have got to have to completely fall off for a couple of teams here, notably Florida State and in Washington, really. I mean, and technically Oregon too. I mean, Florida State's had a couple of close calls this year.
Yeah.
It almost feels like they're just waiting on an upset at this point, but yeah, I just don't see a situation where Michigan and Ohio State get in. I mean, it would have to be like some ridiculous game where like someone wins by a point or something. But even then, I mean, that's asking for a lot. But yeah, I mean, you're basically asking Georgia to lose 1 or 2, Oregon to lose another one, Florida State to lose 1 or 2, and Washington to lose 1 or 2, as well as Texas. It's just not going to happen. I mean, someone maybe. I mean, obviously Georgia and Alabama are going to play each other for the SEC championship.
And Georgia still got Tennessee.
Right.
They're at Tennessee this week, but no, I know. I'm with you.
Thanks last weekend.
Yeah. It's a pretty good run for Georgia, though, beating Missouri, beating Ole Miss, and then Tennessee. Yeah. Yeah, they got spanked by Missouri, who Georgia just beat. Yeah. Florida State's got I just backed out of it, but it was like Northern Alabama or something like that. And then they had the year with Florida, which, yep. And then I guess they're going to play. I don't know how this works now. Yeah, it's going to be Louisville. Yeah, isn't it? Because they don't have the divisions anymore. Yeah, so they'll play. I mean,
they're going to be 13-0.
And it's crazy because, like you said, they've played so many close games. And look, they're in 7th on this.
Right.
But if you're an undefeated conference champ and that win over LSU, LSU's got 3 losses, but man, that's like Jane Daniels would probably be the clear-cut Heisman winner if they only had 1 loss.
Right.
I mean, that's a crazy electric football team. But yeah, Florida State feels like the one that if they get in, God, I don't know. I don't want to say imposter or anything because Jordan Travis is good. Keon Coleman, man. Glad we didn't have to play him in the regular season.
Yeah, right. Oh no, Michigan would have won 49-3. Oh.
It's almost like last year's TCU, except for I think a lot more people were expecting Florida State to be good, and their talent level is higher than TCU last year.
Yeah. Florida State and Michigan were 2 of the top Power 5 teams in terms of returning production coming into this year, so they were both kind of expected to be where they are at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I feel like it always works itself out. But from Michigan's standpoint, it's pretty clear. You win your games, you're in, right? So
yeah, you never want to rely on anyone else to help you out. You obviously want to take care of your own business. So
absolutely.
Before we log off, I just want to say one more thing about that. I think if Michigan beats Ohio State, it doesn't even have to be a blowout. I think if they beat Ohio State, they'll be number one. I think a win over number one Ohio State or number two, whatever they are, and a win over a top 10 Penn State on the road will be enough to put them in. I guess Georgia will play Alabama. That'll be a big win, but what's their second best win? Is it Ole Miss? Is it Missouri? I don't know. It'll be tough. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think they'll be ranked by matchups like they always are.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, but we'll see. I guess it depends on the other stuff that happens. But yeah, I'm with you. Brock mentioned earlier some of the conversation and posters over on our message board at the Den. A lot of you folks watching us live on YouTube, I know are subscribers as well. What's happened to our community in the last month or so has been incredible. Josh has worked incredibly hard from day one to build Maize and Blue Review to this vision that he has. And we've obviously, Brock and I, tried as hard as we can to carry that vision for him forward. And the amount of folks that have joined in and just immediately bought in to what we want that community and culture to be, it's been humbling. It's been, I don't know, all the cliches, but it's just been as tired as we have been and as hard as we have worked the last couple of weeks. We're really proud and really happy of you guys and what you do for us on our site. I said, we work for you, not, we don't talk at you. So much of the articles we create are ideas that have come from our subscribers. And it's really been a good time to do this gig. And I want to tell you all, thank you, because as difficult as covering this has been, they said, we're not lawyers, right? None of us got into it to do that piece of it. You guys have really made this a very rewarding couple of weeks. So thank you. And, I always give you my spiel. A lot of what we talk about at michigan.rivals.com, you would have heard it. And I always tell you, don't take our word for it. Ask our subscribers. You guys have been so vocal on Twitter and on our message boards and everywhere, just giving your shout outs to Josh, who deserves this. Josh has worked very, very hard for over a decade on the Michigan beat, and he's doing his own thing. It took a massive risk doing this. And again, I know you signed my paycheck, so to speak, but as your friend, man, I'm so happy for you and so proud of you to get the respect you deserve. So if you want to be a part of this, and we want you to be a part of it with us, michigan.rivals.com/sign up. There's an underscore between sign and up. Josh has the link in the comments. Head over there, give us a shot. If you want to give us a 1-month trial, even the Blue 30 promo is always working. But we'd love to have you. Again, michigan.rivals.com. You can get access to all of our free information, all of our premium content, all of Josh's intel around recruiting, like Gatlin Bear and, basketball. A 5-star commit. What do you know?
That did happen today.
Yeah, it's all in there. So otherwise, of course, hail to the podcast live on Sundays. We shoot for 6. Appreciate you guys letting us adjust to 8 p.m. tonight. My son had his 6th birthday today, so a lot of fun festivities going on. Good to spend some time with the family, but good to spend time with you guys in here as well. So make sure you're liking and subscribing, getting that notification bell so you know when we go live with Hail to the Podcast. Otherwise, please follow along with us on Twitter. We've got our @ there, @ Trevor McCue, @ Josh Henschke, @ Brock Heilig. We will be keeping you guys up to date on all the Harbaugh news, and of course, football. Michigan does play a football game this week against Maryland, and then we all know what's next. So join us next week where we recap Maryland and look ahead to the game, Michigan versus Penn State, here on Hail to the
Penn
Podcast.
State?
Ohio State, damn it.
Oh!
What a strong,
it's going so well, and
strong
you
finish.
ruined it. Oh, good thing you didn't hit the end stream button before you. Oh.
Did you see the Washington player with the pick 6?
Yeah, dropped
the ball. How does that still happen?
I don't know.
Damn,
Penn State's going to make a return trip to the big house.
Dude, I really felt
Another sign stealer will be.
What was the comment on the board?
Oh yeah, someone Penn State sign stealer to Manny Diaz. Coach, they're doing the same sign 30 plays in a row.
Stop asking me. They're running it.
That's funny. That's great. Oh boy. Well, it's Ohio State, by the way.
Ohio State 2 weeks.
If you didn't know, Michigan does play Ohio State at the end of every season since the beginning of time. And Trevor just pulled a whatever I said about Charles Woodson earlier in the year. I can't remember who I called him.
Charles.
I called him Charles something. I can't remember what I
got
called
Charles
him.
Woodson's name wrong.
Yeah, I got Charles Woodson's name wrong. But so hey, it happens. It happens, you know. Happens to the best of us.
Thank you, Toski. Happy birthday, mini Trevor. Yes. My little man. He's so good. I don't know what to do now, dude. I thought I had a really strong finish there. We're like a marathon winner that starts celebrating too early and then like they fall down and the guy passes them.
He trips and falls before the finish line.
Yeah, that's what I just did. And I'm laying there. I'm just on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't want to get up. What amazing movie have you not seen before, Brock? Let me make fun of you real quick.
Okay.
Let's see. I watched The Godfather for like the 12th time this week. Have you seen The Godfather?
I have not seen The
Godfather. Yeah, why would you watch the greatest movie ever made? Haha, look at Brock. He's stupid. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for joining us.
That's hilarious.
Oh, good stuff. See, we have fun here.
Yep, we do.
Yeah. And we have fun over at michigan.rivals.com. Be sure to sign up and become a subscriber. Like and subscribe, notification bell, blah, blah, blah. Hail to the podcast. We'll see you next time.